So I had quite a bit of difficulty in choosing just one module from the 52. But in fact, the one that I chose was Speak for Yourself, which is week 9. It's about taking responsibility for your statements, for the things that you say, and particularly by using I statements. Using the I statements has been very liberating for me and very empowering. And I think what the important thing is that you know it comes from the heart. It's actually you speaking.
Yeah, there was one chapter where I wasn't expecting it at all, where I sort of felt emotionally quite calm, and then I read the story and just was bawling, and it really touched something in me. And there's something in that shared experience, sort of hearing about someone else's experience of being in new grief and other people not knowing how to relate to that, and therefore really keeping their distance and being almost cold, that I think just reminded me of how painful it was when I had that experience. And I really loved that it sort of very gently in the book just was offering to people, even if you don't know what to say, just say that. I think people could take it wherever they're at, sort of thing. So there's a depth there, but it's not necessary to sort of go to the whole depth. And in the talk about the week, there's then a really clear sort of like a take-home message, like a one-liner. So on one of the weeks, there's the sort of writing all about it, and then it just says, be specific, you get what you ask for. And it's such, that for me was a really good one to hear.
I've learned a lot through life experience, but this actually just takes it that much further, and all the way to actually realising, well, what am I here for in life, and rather than sort of settle for something less, actually really heal lots of maybe stuff and also grow to my full potential.
I guess the most impactful chapter was the Releasing Tribal Programming, chapter 20 in the book. And the thing about that was sort of it just sounded so true to my experience, sort of what my parents told me I couldn't do, what my teachers told me I couldn't do, but also church and everything, so it was just like, oh my God, I didn't realise there were so many voices in my head.
The most personal impact the book had on me was that it opened myself to self-exploration and self-reflection, and thanks to that it opened my heart to a relationship which I wasn't prepared for. As I fed back to my colleagues at work each week about each chapter, it generated a lot of interest and enthusiasm, and they were all asking me, what is the practice this week? Which made us all engage together.
Firstly, what I love about the book is the cover. I think it just is so heartfelt and just really clear. Blue is my favourite colour after all. So that's the first thing that struck me about the book. I engaged with it really by sort of dip and dive in. So I've dived into the book and I seem to be hitting this one chapter all the time, which is about falling in love and love paradigm between unconditional love and conditional love. So that for me is very pertinent to this present moment in time, because I'm trying to gauge whether my life is more unconditional rather than all the conditions that I've been programmed with. My professional background is in NHS and health and social care. And what we're finding in health and social care is that a lot of people are out there trying to be compassionate, trying to do their job, but they're not really being self-compassionate. And so I really feel that this book could be used a lot to work with people, to help them to really communicate with themselves and others, to sort of really feel where they're coming from in a more authentic reality. A lot of our training at present is about having professional development in the things we know, very much knowledge, but how we feel is not really much part of that. And it's very uncomfortable for a lot of clinicians to really look at that part.
There was a chapter that jumped out to me halfway through the book, which it just really helped. And it's a chapter called Clear as a Bell, in which it says, when we are clear as a bell, we have the best chance of being heard. I really heard that. And down the page, it says, be specific. You get what you ask for. if we do not know all the details of what we want, we can focus on what we do know, and particularly on the specifics of the way we want to feel. I got a bell, and it's on my work desk, and it's one of those little restaurant bells, and I found myself looking at the bell and finding myself pausing to communicate authentically from an effortless place, not thinking so much about what I'm going to say.
Carmella's book kind of takes you by the hand and leads you in this very generous, caring way, step by step, through some really profound ideas which she presents in a really simple and loving way. I just feel there's so much love in it, and I feel like it's just like full of treasure, and it's somehow, as I look at it and just skim through it, it feels a bit like tracking an animal, like sniffing it out, like something that you know what it looks like, you know something, you know that somehow then the edges of it get loosened and you start to sort of see something, you know, maybe see something as you've never seen it before. For any group, really, it could be a really amazing starting point of a way of reflecting on yourself, but also a way of reflecting together and getting to know people. And I just keep thinking of it in schools, really. For young people, I mean, I feel there's so much in our education system that's missing. And, you know, these ideas are just presented in, you know, such a clear, usable way. Feels like a book that's come from a long observation, a long time of observation, and that story about Carmella and her not speaking for so long. Somehow I feel that this is a woman who's watched and thought and distilled, and she's offering this book as something about her love of humanity and her care.